Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I guess welcome to the new BGG kind of branch off Facebook Live. We want to. So this is called Arlington's Corner. We wanted to bring kind of a youth perspective to some of the things that's going on in the financial markets, just some of the financial news, and just bring just kind of a youth perspective and have a really full rounded conversation. And so, as you guys know, we will be bringing a guest, and I believe she's just joining. Her name is Serena. So, Mr. Mason, if you would like to introduce her, that'd be dope as she gets set up. But yeah, thank everybody for joining. Mr. Mason, it's on you.
Hey, all right. Hey, Serena, good morning.
Good morning.
She's coming in hot. Welcome to this is Arlington's Corner. So our overall group, we have a group called the Business Growth Group.
Awesome.
We have about 740 members. It's a private group throughout the nation.
Very cool.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is we wanted to get a little bit more youthful. So entrepreneurship isn't just for people in their 40s and 50s and even 60s. We want them 70s and 80s. We want to make sure that entrepreneurship and understanding different things. It also comes with entrepreneurship and personal growth. So personal growth is another thing we focus on, but it was important when Arlington came from. He's a Morehouse man. I got to shout out to the house. So and he is in the financial space. So we wanted to make sure everybody's bag is important, and so we wanted to make sure to everybody that, hey, you start really picking up on some of these new things, but we want to give it a youthful perspective. So so on that note, welcome to Arlington's Corner. And so Mr. Arlington Rodgers III, you'll get to know him very well.
Yeah, I'll do a brief intro that everybody could intro, and then we could just jump into a topic or just let it flow. So starting off, my name is Arlington Rodgers III, originally from San Bernardino, California. Graduated from Morehouse College in May of 2020. Currently, I work for Goldman Sachs as a financial analyst, where I work specifically in trade management and settle pretty much just a lot of trades in the market. I also own and operate a nonprofit dedicated to teaching financial literacy to high school students. And yeah, that's pretty much me. That's my journey. I'm currently here in Salt Lake City, Utah, living amongst those who do not look like me, but it is okay. It is a journey and it is a fun thing to experience. And so, Serena, happy to have you on. If you would like to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yes, my name is Serena Robinson, born and raised in Rancho Cucamonga. I graduated from San Diego State in May of 2019, and then I moved back home to Rancho to attend Claremont Graduate University, where I'm getting my master's. I study music, specifically flute performance and then historical performance practices. So again, I'm in a field where I'm not around people who look like me, which is why I want to go into teaching, especially at the college level, because there's not enough Black and brown folks in music and faculties, I've noticed. So that is my calling and what I want to do.
All right.
And Mr. Mason, if you want to introduce yourself, of course, you just or do a brief intro if you want. That's all you.
All right. No, that's cool. I think most people know me by now. Rob Mason, founder of the Business Growth Group, and it's a division of the office. So we have a group that's physically located in Riverside. It's called The Office, and we have office space and do business coaching and mailboxes, addresses. People need a meeting rooms and places where they can feel comfortable to attach, their business space so that you don't have to work at home. So we do that, a lot of business coaching. And I am a business coach and promote entrepreneurship, personal growth, and just all around, helping people is my thing. So I want to kind of leave it right there. If you guys, anyone has questions out there about me, what I do, how I can help, let me know. But one of your topics today why don't we start here? Talk about this social
Yeah,
investing.
absolutely. So I know we had a few topics on the docket. So I wanted to jump into just like social investing, like what it is and like how to jump into it. And then just like NFTs in the metaverse and just some big news going on. But I did just interestingly find a commonality between the three of us. I think that would be a good kind of segue. I noticed that we're all in spaces that there's not a lot of Black people. And I think that we kind of jumped into that on our first session, Mr. Mason. But I think that would be maybe a little helpful to talk about, like, especially maybe in the art space. I don't think there's a huge conversation around that. So I would love to kind of put you on the spotlight right there and just talk about like your journey and what that's like. And then, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's I started playing the flute when I was 10, so fifth grade. And I mean, even living out here in Rancho, there's not a lot of Black people at the schools that I went to, and especially in band. Like I was usually one of like 3 people in orchestras and bands growing up. And then especially going into college, I went to San Diego State. So you think you're in San Diego, like you're around a bunch of Hispanic people, Latin American people, even Black people, but it's not the case at all. That's definitely a PWI. And the music department is no different. There's not a lot of Black people in music. I think I had one African American professor, and he was a man, so no women, no Black women professors. So in my whole entire college career, I've had one Black professor at Claremont Graduate University now. There are no Black professors. I'm trying to make sure I say everything right. Yeah, I've only had one Black university professor in music.
Yeah.
So it's rough. Like I wish I saw more Black women in music, or Black people in general, but especially women.
Yeah, I definitely feel you. I definitely feel you with that. I mean, like just especially like living around an area where there's like not a lot of people like you. I think it's a little bit discouraging, but it's almost encouraging at the same time because it gives you kind of an edge, a chip on your shoulder just to keep going because you're kind of the only one. And it's a lot of responsibility that I'm finding in itself too. Like, I feel like I have to kind of be the best because I am a representation of such a large group of people that I kind of didn't ask to be. And so, I mean, there's definitely a lot of things that come with that as well. Mr. Bass, I know you're a little bit more seasoned in the area. So what are maybe like some tips and stuff that you kind of learned over the years of just being, walking in the rooms where you're the only one that look like you're the only Black one in the room, and you felt like you had eyes on you. How did you deal? How did you cope?
You know what? I'm glad you asked that question because it's been that way, the whole time from being an Army officer and to being in high tech. High tech was probably pretty much the worst because I go to conferences, we got 3,000 people, it'd be me and another brother there. So everybody knew me because I was the Black guy, right? So how do you not know one guy out of 3,000? You know what I mean? And so I just be comfortable. Just people are people, right? And you're gonna go to place in any time a door closes. Hey, wait a minute, put your foot in it and get in there. I belong here. Make sure you get in, and just be comfortable talking to people, right? And then once people get a chance, most people they get a chance to see your heart, and it's more about them being unsure because it may not be part of their community or whatever else. So there may be a little bit of fear, but once they realize, hey man, this stuff, we're all people, we bleed the same.
Right.
And I'm not really having too many issues. And when you have them, most good people, I had one time a colleague, his wife thought that he was disrespectful. I didn't feel any disrespect, but she knew that he was acting differently than he normally does. She checked him, and when in private, next day he came in and he pulled me to the side and apologized. I wasn't feeling no type of way, but it goes to show the little subtleties and good people. So I would say for us, just be comfortable in the room. Remember, it's a competition. Don't get caught up in feeling like, oh, I'm here to make up the quota. No, you're not. You're here because you're selected because you're good. That's all I got.
absolutely. I think that's a good reminder, especially just to end with, right? Like you were selected because you're capable and not just because, you're filling some quota. And I know it definitely could feel like that at times, especially with the strong push towards diversity. And with that, that's kind of a bit of a segue into the next topic. So just talking about like social investing. So does anybody know, or do you guys know what social investing is or heard of it?
I got I have I'm gonna jump in with what I think you're talking about. So
Yeah.
social investing, where you are pooling resources to provide funding for certain groups and uh, clubs or interests.
Mhm.
Is that it? Am I close?
Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, you're spot on. So it's a relatively new field that a lot of companies are adapting, especially large companies, to kind of just invest in. A lot of it is going towards like sustainable energy because of the climate crisis and things like that. But there are also, diversity and inclusion aspects of it as well. And so a lot of companies are now, investing in different kind of programs. And with me building my nonprofit, like I kind of know that and was able to see that and participate in the world that a lot of companies are wanting to be able to say like, hey, we invested in the Black community, or we invested in the brown community, or any other communities by doing, by investing in this organization. And so I think it's a super good thing to get into. It feels like kind of like guilt tripping a little bit too, like once you're participating in it, because it's like, hey, I have this program, do you want to help save some Black people? And that's kind of what the conversation boils down to. But yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's a super good just opportunity for everyone to kind of invest in, like, especially if, a lot of people are pushing towards being entrepreneurs, but do not know, what they want to do. A lot of people have hair businesses, nail businesses, but there's also another avenue that you could go to and get grants, get funding for, and talk to a lot of different companies and things like that. And so, yeah, it's a super exciting new field to kind of get into. And yeah, Serena, have you heard anything about like social investing? Have you looked into it, anything like that?
I have not. I know of investing the big thing right now, and I've not really looked into it because I honestly don't really. I know like what investing means, but I don't know how to do it. And I definitely have not heard of social investing. I thought you said social justice at first, and then I was like, oh, investing. I've never heard of social investing.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, so a lot of times they flip into like social investor, or like social entrepreneurship, or like corporate social responsibility. But pretty much just having a program that impacts a community and just getting funding for it. I really like to highlight, those kind of things, because if you're not inside of those companies, then a lot of times you don't see those you don't see those faces, and you don't see those opportunities, especially, growing up in the community. A lot of the private communities aren't even in the community. So a lot of times, like, hey, like, you want to clean up a park, you may hit up a school board member, you may hit up a city council member, but, their schedules are busy because they're dealing with a lot. But maybe if you put together like a plan of action, or put together like an actual budget or a specific program, you could go present it to one of your private companies like a JP Morgan, or any bank or credit union in the area, and see if they would be willing to participate. And a lot of times they are, because they want to be able to show face, to show that they are in the community. And so definitely use that to your advantage. And it's interesting that you said, you didn't really know about investing, or it's a big thing, but you haven't really participated in it. So I wanted to kind of get your perspective, especially from a music perspective, on the NFT world. So if anybody's familiar with NFTs, I could give a brief introduction, and then go from there.
Okay, just real quick on that
Yeah.
same note of social investing.
Mhm.
It caused me to make some changes to some of my flyers, particularly certain groups, because there's certain, particularly post Black Lives Matter, and people started really understanding, hey, let's invest in Black business and other things. That promotion, it was heavy because people wanted to give. They knew that they needed to, whether guilt tripping or not. Right, it's money that needs to get into the communities. And I love the fact Target has done wonders. I know a lot of people who have gotten their products in Target, and that's a big deal. Target, Costco, and some others, and we got to get our products out there because that's part of getting dollars recycled in our community.
Exactly. Yeah. We could jump into NFTs. Do y'all know what NFTs are?
I do
Yes.
not.
Mr. Mason, you do?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I've dabbled with and I'm still studying it. It's a little cray to me, but I
Okay.
can see if you're popular or whatever, man, you can just take off. But go ahead and I'll bring it in.
Yeah, so NFTs it stands for non-fungible token. And basically what it is, so it's such a confusing concept, but to simplify it, basically somebody will drop a piece of art. It could be music, it could be audio, it could be photos, it could be literally anything. And so with that, one person will be able to buy the NFT and have a digital certificate, which means you are now the owner. You have the one true one. So, right, like let's say if I buy like an NFT album, then and somebody else downloads it on their phone, we will pretty much have the same album. The only difference would be I own this album like on the blockchain. I have a certificate to prove it and things like that. And so it's a new kind of way to get people into alternative types of investing, especially in the music world, right? Like we see a lot of artists, specifically off the top of my head, like Tory Lanez dropped an album that was an NFT album only, and he made like $1 million in 1 minute or like 2 minutes or something crazy like that. And so yeah, just from like your perspective from music, like have you seen, I guess, any shift? Like I know that you're studying music. You may not be studying that exactly like the music industry exactly, but have you seen like maybe like a shift or like are those conversations starting to come up?
So for me, I'm in the classical realm,
Okay.
and I definitely have friends who are in like the music business, music entrepreneurship, which is, I believe, somewhat of a newer like major or concentration. So for me personally, no, because I don't take classes on music business or music technology or the industry. So that'd be a conversation I'd have with someone I know in that field. So me personally, the answer is no. We do not talk about that, unfortunately. But I know it gets talked about because I have friends who are studying the industry, and I've seen the classes that they take. So for them, it's definitely being talked about.
Okay, absolutely. And Mr. Mason, I know you said you dabble with NFTs and got kind of a little comfortable with them. If you don't mind, just talking about your experience with them. I actually have not bought any NFTs. Like I kind of want to, but I don't know. I still don't get it yet. Like it's still such an interesting thing, just to see some people, playing with it, some people not. But I think it's a dope concept just for overall, equity, right? Like people are able to kind of own their own things, especially in the art world. Like I think that a lot of the times, for me, I see most advantages in the art world, especially for, when I see a lot of artists, creating those like endless loops on like GIFs or something like that, and big companies are able to promote them and use them, but they don't see any capital from that. And so I think it's dope to just have kind of a decentralized, centralized place for you to put your things and be able to get paid for it, right? Because if somebody's going to use your stuff, you definitely want to get paid for that. So, Mr. Mason, if you don't mind talking about your experience. And
okay, let me be crystal clear. I'm not. I'm studying it. And I am starting to get the concept. The biggest thing I would say, even with the Tory Lanez drop, the valuation of things in crypto, right? It's one thing to have the value there, but you don't have anything till you move that money. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Oh, I have it, because it's just like being in the stock market. That value can change. Something happens, and value can go down, up and down. I think NFTs are a little bit different because it's more of interest. So if you become more interesting, like let's say, for instance, if you're we just talking about Kansas City Chiefs. What's the brother's name, the quarterback?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes has NFT. So That cat is popular. He puts something out. He could write something. He can draw something stupid or whatever and put his signature on it. And people are gonna go gaga over that, right? And then
Yeah.
and then they're gonna drop all sorts of money, you know. And so it really pays better for cats like him and I'm trying to think of my guy. He he's on Yahoo Finance, all these other places. And I love this cat, but he's coming out with his own art of kids. I forgot what it's called, and he has these pieces, and now he's blown up because based on his popularity, right? So
Right.
if you're a young football player, you know, musician, or somebody up and coming, you know, people that follow you, or even if you're a social media star, and you
Mhm.
put out some artwork, put some different things out there, it does give you the opportunity to benefit from that. You know, but again, for me, the whole thing when it comes to crypto and things of that nature is, hey, understanding how to move your money, you know, through the blockchain, you know, from wallet to wallet and into and how to avoid as you know many taxes as you possibly can. So that's the thing is it looks nice on the meter. Oh, I got this much money, but it's like, man, you got nothing till you take it out.
And that's what they say people are doing too. A lot of they say that a lot of rich people are buying NFTs because it's not I think it's not federally regulated yet. So like they don't have to report any gains tax or anything like that when it comes to tax time. So a lot of people are kind of pump and dumping their NFTs. So that way, you know, they could just make some money off it and not have to tax it. So it's an interesting loophole to see to come across, but I think it's super dope just in terms of just ownership, right? Like I think it goes back to the same conversation that a lot of people have when they start getting into business and things like that. Is just the importance and the value of ownership. And so now we're able to see that, you know, kind of live, right? Like, and now we don't have to be, you know, because a lot of times, you know, we see a lot of people who are super successful, they talk about ownership and it's like, well, I work a 9 to 5, I don't really own nothing, you know. So so what does that look like? And so I think this is just another opportunity, right, to give power back to the people,
Mhm.
uh, you know, to be able to participate and invest in these kind of things and spread their wealth, so they're not, you know, as the guy Robert Kiyosaki would say, they're not stuck in the rat race. And so they're able to you know, just diversify their portfolios. You know, they don't have to necessarily, you know, keep, you know, funding or increasing
Mhm.
their 401ks. You know, there's other things that they could do and that they're passionate about. So I think that's really, really dope to see. And especially, you know, and it just kind of shows where the world is headed, right? We're headed to this more digitized world. And then that kind of leads me to our next topic, which is like the metaverse. Like, what is going on? Like, what is this metaverse thing? Like, this is so, you know, interesting. Like, everybody has their headsets on and is escaping into this world. And so yeah, I kind of just wanted to get your guys' perspectives on, you know, what are some of maybe the business opportunities that are in the metaverse? Are there any? You know, is this real? Is this something we should be paying attention to, especially as Black people, or should we just kind of stick to what we know?
No, I think you got to be all in on the metaverse, because that's you know if you look at where we are even with crypto, right? Remember, I'm a little old school, and coming, I remember the days before we had the S Arena. I'm gonna say before we had bank ATMs, and and there was a brother who actually benefited from the first ATMs, and that was was a guy that had the chocolate chips. I'm trying to think of the name, but he what's his name?
Famous Amos?
Amos had those chips, and he had something in I think Honolulu, and he bought those ATMs and put them out there,
Oh, that
and
was Famous Amos.
and it was yeah he made a lot of money. So
Okay.
so if you look at the evolution of technology, right, getting into this and so crypto, and then you look at the metaverse. So the banking industry and everybody else is really understanding, hey, digital money and how these things are changing, digital wallets and things.
Mhm.
Then we take the alternate reality of of things, and how to play out things in an alternate world, but it's still partially real, right? So you have gaming technology. It's been crazy. People looking at all these particular things, military hardware, and how to game board different opportunities. I think it's just starting. I think you got to get in, but also when you're doing your traditional investing and things, look at companies like Microsoft and Google and a bunch of them that are out there. Look at Metaverse companies, because and then that start to park your money behind some of those things in the right season, right? Because and then you can actually come up. But those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to just the previous conversation we were having, right? Like, even if you just pay attention to the news, right, you will be a better investor than had you not, right? We see Microsoft buy Activision and Blizzard for like 700 million cash, like, which is crazy money. So they're really, really invested in this metaverse thing. And it's interesting, right? Like, you already could see. I think Snoop Dogg has like his own neighborhood in there, and like people are buying houses next to Snoop Dogg, which is like super crazy. So I think this is definitely just an opportunity, for people to come into. I'm definitely hesitant, man. Me and my friends are talking about it, talking about the metaverse, talking about buying Oculuses, but I'm still hesitant. I don't know, right? Like, I think for me, it's just a lot of unknowns. Like, I'm even thinking just from like the social media aspect, right? Like, what has social media, kind of done to, like, I've been reading a lot of books on just like what social media has done to like just our cognitive like functions and things like that. So I can't even imagine, what the metaverse would do, just sitting in your home and you at the you courtside at the Laker game and you're not even in LA. Like, that's crazy, So I think that's something to definitely think about. But just in terms of like business, there may be some opportunity. Serena, look like you want to jump in or no?
No, I'm like, I've heard of the metaverse, but again, like, I don't really look into this kind of stuff. So like when you said like people walking around with headphones and listening to music, my first thought was, I know podcasts are a huge thing now. People, and that's like another way that I know people try to escape reality. But I mean, you're saying sitting courtside at the Lakers in your own home, that's crazy. Yeah. But that's definitely something, people are going to want to invest in, especially with this virus and pandemic. People are looking for other ways to escape without having to actually like go anywhere. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Podcasting. It's interesting that you bring that up. Podcasting is actually like it's just so interesting to see, how it's coming into the streaming world. Because like I listen to like the Joe Budden podcast, so like he was talking about it a lot, right? And he would talk about, how just like the ad revenue is shaping up, versus like music streaming, and like how do people get properly evaluated for a podcast, because a podcast is like an hour-long audio that you're bringing to the platform. And so like, do you introduce ads? Do you put those ads in there? Like, how are people getting paid? So I think like just this shift to keeping you kind of just in one community is a trend, right? Like another perspective on that would be, a lot of people are trying to buy PS5s and they couldn't get it because they were selling out really quick. But then Sony ended up selling PS4s, reselling the PS4s just so they can have people in their Sony network. And so I think that's something to interested in look at. Maybe we could talk about next time for sure. But like how, the benefits of how it is to keeping somebody in your kind of universe. And like, what does that mean in terms of like because now you can control their habits, like, like what kind of ads they're getting. You can control like what they're buying, you control what they're seeing. And so it's almost like training you to be a customer of their company, which is super interesting. So yeah. Like I think we're moving to a digital age, man, and it is interesting to see. And we got to be on the forefront. I think, especially as Black people, we got to be on the forefront of it, because we can't afford to get left out. So I think it'll be dope. I think the only thing that I know of how to invest in the metaverse is the real estate. So yeah, for those out there, yeah, if you guys figure out how to buy a house in the metaverse or a duplex, let me know. I definitely want to do that and try to house hack in the metaverse for sure.
I'm with you on that, brother. If you think about it, if you had a meeting, a place, right, and you're going, if I'm in the Caribbean at a dope place and I'm able to have a meeting and then bring you guys all in virtually at that place to feel like you're sampling it.
Mhm.
That's where people are going to go, man. That's the space. So we got to figure out how to, study this stuff. So one of my takeaways for today for everyone, and I'll share one of my practices, is
Absolutely.
I try to find 1 or 2 days a week to spend at least 30 to 45 minutes of studying, reading in, listening into new, about this new stuff. They do have a lot of trainings and different things out there, but you're gonna have to read a couple different people's things to
Yeah.
make sure that you have good information and then test some of the stuff out. But there are lists, and Google is our friend, but and as I said, if you ever want to hide anything, put it in a book. Right? Most people aren't gonna read it. I'm gonna generalize that one, but we have to study, right? Stay up on this and make sure we have like you said, a foot in the door, and we're ready to pounce.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think we could definitely just start signing off again. Thank you, Mr. Mason, for allowing me to use your platform. Serena, thank you for joining. Like, it was dope.
Yeah,
Having
of course.
for,
This is
for sure.
cool.
Thank you. I'll be looking forward to bring you on again soon. But yeah, as a quick sign off, I know this is the first episode, so thank you all for joining. Tune in next time. I will be here. We're definitely gonna keep this thing going. And yeah, thank you. And as a quick sign off, I'm a big reader, so I would love for everybody to talk about briefly, just mention a book that they're reading, maybe what it's about. And then we could kind of sign off from there. If you're reading anything or just maybe something you're looking into. So I'll start with mine. So I just picked up a book yesterday called Against the Hounds of Hell by Peter Einstein. It's just about the life, or it's a biography about Howard Thurman, who is a mystic prophet. And he's kind of one of the reasons how Morehouse got, or he's actually like Martin Luther King's spiritual mentor. And so he met him at Morehouse. And so Howard Thurman was instrumental in creating the kind of Morehouse mystique. And so I wanted to look into that. So again, that's called The Hounds of Hell, A Life of Howard Thurman. So Mr. Mason or Serena, whoever wants to go next.
Okay, I have two that I'm going back and rereading some of the stuff that I've had before, and I'm doing it through books on tape or audio books.
Mhm.
So one I'm going back through is The Millionaire Mind by Thomas Stanley, and then another book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, or The Art of War for Business, and which is really a dope book. It just lets you really understand, how the tactical aspects of business. So
Yeah.
those, yeah.
And I'm here taking your suggestions. Being a student, I feel like I rarely have time for fun reads. So I'm gonna write these books down and try to make some time. It's hard, but I'll take those suggestions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you guys again. Appreciate you guys for joining. And with that, we are out. Have a good one, everybody.
All right.